It is the Flow Friday Sports Show here on Flow FM. Time to talk North Central Netball. And joining me on the line now is the president of the North Central Netball Association, Kylie Walsh. Kylie, great to be back with you. How are you?
Thanks, great. Thanks, Alice. Nice to have you back.
Thank you, Kylie. Well, Dan Crouch certainly pulled in a shift, and it was all pretty good from what I heard on Friday last week. Back to our regular routine, talking about the results from round 14. And in the big game between the Wedderburn Redbacks and Boort, we had Boort coming up short in the end. The Redbacks too strong, 60-48. How did you see this game, Kylie?
Yeah, well, actually, I felt there was an upset on the cards with this one, but I really didn't anticipate that final score of a 12-goal lead. Tess Jackson was back combining with Courtney Gleeson in defence for the Redbacks, so that really creates agility and unpredictability in the ring. And Wedderburn appeared to have settled within their team and accommodations, and even when they slightly alter their positions for speed and stability, it doesn't impact them at all. Whereas Boort, on the other hand, I feel like they've lost their confidence within their mid-foot court at the moment, and they're certainly missing the presence of Joe Isaac. But I feel like Boort was scrambling on Saturday to try and stop the stem of Wedderburn's dominance, while Wedderburn continue to put their foot down and finish the game with a larger game win over the Magpies than anticipated, like you said, Alice, 60-48.
Is it a case of complacency here, Kylie? What came about? Because you wouldn't have thought that this result could ever happen.
Well, I did a sneaky tip on this one, Alice, so I had a little gut feeling with this one, but I just feel like all the others are starting to cement their 7 squad, whereas Boort are still tweaking theirs with a few away. So I think other clubs, out of the top 4, are getting more stable within their combination, and Boort are still tweaking theirs.
Well, I'm glad you pulled one off there, Kylie, because I think listener confidence was a little down between both of us as far as tipping went. There we go, though. Good work. Well, let's move on. And another really close game we had in the A-grade division was between Charlton and Nullarbor, and in the end, the visitors just getting away with it by 3 goals. But Charlton, goodness me, they've come so close on so many occasions this season, Kylie.
Yeah, that's right. They're just not getting the final chocolates at the end. But I really think Charlton on Saturday were fueled by the emotion and motivation win for Maddie Fitz. There was a sea of yellow for their fight against Cancer Day, and they were chasing that 1-goal deficit from the first break. Charlton brought home Sabrina Thompson, and with that in the defence with Megan Burns, certainly challenged Nullarbor. And Nullarbor had several changes within their defence and combinations, trying to stop the flow of Charlton's rhythm, but they were managed to keep in arm's reach from Nullarbor, and Nullarbor then found their best combination in the final quarter and were able to capitalise on any turnovers, and they had a strong final quarter, as you said, winning 43-40 over Charlton.
Hey, Kylie, just from all your experience, when it comes down to a particular weekend where there is a particular focus attached to an individual, it's not just pushing a cause, it relates specifically to an individual that everyone knows. Is that almost like having an extra man on the court or an extra woman on the court on an occasion like that?
No, absolutely. Yeah, it certainly gives you big motivation, and I'm sure they brought the motivation of Maddie's strengths against her fight at the moment. They would have brought that to the court thinking, well, if she's got the power and strength to do that, they're going to bring that motivation on. So I agree. It was certainly Maddie not physically being on the court, was certainly an 8th person on the court.
There we go. Great stuff. Well, let's look at Witchy-Narraport and their win over St. Arnaud, 47-40. Some close games last weekend, Kylie. Another very entertaining one, I'm sure, is the way that this one would have played out.
Yeah, absolutely. St. Arnaud have certainly gained their confidence in their gameplay, and they've set their combinations now. And both the Demons and the Saints were playing, their mid-court was working really hard and taking advantage of their opposing player, which he proved Narraport gained a bit more breathing space over the Saints, and they were close on their tails. But Saints placing further pressure on the Demons, chasing that 8-goal deficit. And it was a really an evenly goal third quarter. So that made for a really interesting final 15 minutes. But fortunately for the Demons, that first strong half that they had gave them a bit of breathing space whilst the determined St. Arnaud team chased them. Unfortunately, despite winning the last quarter, Demons were able to hold on to that 7-goal lead, taking the win 47-40.
There we have it. Well, hopes would have been high for the Donald side in their game game against Birchip Watcham towards the end of that game, and it finished 46-51, another close one, but in the end, Birchip Watcham too good on the road, Kylie.
Yeah, that's right. And the Donald squad are certainly unpredictable, and they're pushing everyone to the limit. It was a really low-scoring first quarter, and it took both teams a bit to settle in, and Donald certainly took the advantage and looked more comfortable playing in the stadium and their experience playing on board over Boort Watcham. But Boort Watcham were able to find their connections down the court and gave hold a 5-goal lead over Donald. Donald contested really hard and challenged the Bulls in all facets of the game like they usually do, but the Bulls were able to stay composed and take that win 51-46.
Well, the ladder's looking interesting, Kylie. Pretty tight from sort of second through to fourth, fifth. So just unbundle that ladder for us and what all these results meant last round as far as the ladder now looks.
Yeah, I think the top three are sort of sitting quite safe at this point. There's still a bit of niggling. Witchyproof Narrowport are still biting at the tails. They're still grasping at straws of getting into these final run home against Nullall. So just there's a bit of pressure on Nullall and Witchyproof Narrowport of win-losses at the moment. So it makes it for an interesting competition. And, of course, especially from 6 downwards, they're still challenging every game, which is wonderful to see.
Round 15 tomorrow, and there's plenty of action to look forward to. St Arnaud against Donald. Another game that's hard to call, Kylie. Two sides that'll be wanting to get back into the winner's circle. Do you tip the home side purely based on home advantage, or how do you see this one going?
Look, I think it's going to be a really tight game. St Arnaud certainly found their groove over the past few weeks, and that home ground crowd will make certainly a difference. But I think Donald is certainly pushing their opposition and being able to finish off games. So I think if Donald sticks to their game plan and plays to their ability, they'll be rewarded with a win over St Arnaud, but I think it'll be a challenging game and a close scoring game.
Certainly some interesting games on this weekend, Kylie. Another one is Birchip Watcham against Wedderburn. I'm not sure which is the game of the round because there's a few here that are really taking my fancy, but Wedderburn, do you reckon they'll be too strong on the road against Birchip Watcham?
Yeah, I do, Alice. I think they've really found their form at the right end of the season, and this will be a good game for Birchip Watcham to gauge how they're going and really test their ability to concentrate for the 4 quarters and connect down throughout the court. But yeah, as I mentioned, I think Wedderburn have found their seasonal form, and I hope that they aim to keep that throughout right to the end of the season and into finals. So it'll be a tough game, but I think the Redbacks will be too strong for the Bulls.
Witchy Narrowport, they will not melt on the road against Nullawul. How do you see it going in the end?
Yeah, well, like we mentioned with the ladders, this is a really must-win game for Witchyproof Narrowport over Nullawul. This possibly might be the brink if they lose this. And unfortunately, I think that Nullawul will take on this pressure, and they're renowned for pressure games and particularly in finals. So I think they'll take this in their stride. And I feel that Nullawul will be too strong for Witchyproof Narrowport. So
are you tipping a close one here, Kylie, or not?
Yeah, I am, Alice. I think it'll be very close because Witchyproof Narrowport have a lot to play for. But yeah, I think it'll be very close, but Nullawul will take home the point.
And then we've got Sea Lake Nandali hosting at Charlton in the last game. I'm going to go Charlton here just because I think they're going to be coming into this being a little frustrated from round 14 and the fact that they were so close yet so far. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Charlton will carry their motivation from last weekend. Haven't quite got home with the wins, but I think they will take a win over the Tigers, although Tigers had the bye last weekend, so I'm hoping they're refreshed and regrouped. But Charlton will be too strong and bring in their confidence of the game.
Speaking of byes, I'd love to know what your view is on the psyche of the Boort girls, because that loss certainly was not expected, and then they've got to sit out this week, Kylie, so they might have a bit of a psychological hill to climb come round 16 when they're back involved in all the action. Yeah,
look, the Boort girls are pretty strong, and I think that they'll take this opportunity just to refresh and recharge and focus on training, and whether or not they have a little get-together on Saturday just to keep that momentum going, because it's the important end of the season, but I think they'll take it in their stride.
Kylie Walsh, President of the North Central Netball Association. Before I do let you go, just regarding the action this weekend, there's another update that you've got for us.
Thanks. This Sunday in Witchyproof, North Central are hosting Bree Bentley, our A-grade badge umpire from Bendigo, so we're very fortunate to have her. She's going to host a pre-final session game of game management and rules, and as we've mentioned before, this is a wonderful opportunity, and we highly recommend coaches and umpires who are striving for finals to attend this session. It begins at 2:30, probably only go for an hour, but if anyone is interested within the North Central, please RSVP to the link that's been provided by AFL Central Vic.
Prez, great to be with you again. Expertly done. Kylie Walsh telling us all things North Central netball from round 14 going into round 15 this weekend. Kylie, we'll do it all again in a week's time. Enjoy the netball.
Well, I certainly will, Alice. Have a great week.